everybody. Alright, let's get started. Hey, so I think for the first time this year, I think I've done this since December. Every once in a while, I like to do a sort of exhibition run of the 8-bit versions of Sonic the Hedgehog. Going to be playing them with real cartridges, with the analog Mega SG, which, if you're not familiar, it's this little console here. It's made by Analog, and it plays the games off the original cartridges in real time, which is really cool. Now, okay, here we go. And that's where the console is. You can see that the little black table? That's sort of where the console is sitting. I'll have a console cam eventually. Hey, Kalaka Boy. Yeah. Yeah, Master System's awesome, because I grew up with the Game Gear. I didn't know the Game Gear was basically a portabilized version of the Master System. So this here is my childhood Sonic the Hedgehog cartridge. And this is a import of the European version of Sonic the Hedgehog. It's literally identical to the American version, which was released in limited quantities. They just stuck a different UPC over the European cartridge. Oh yeah, the great thing about this shirt, I only got it in like 2006, and it looks like I've been playing. It looks like a shirt that's actually from like 1992, but I just set it too high in the dryer the first day I got it, so it came out looking all crinkled. So now it looks nice and old, so it looks awesome. Yeah. So I'm gonna be normally I play Sonic the Hedgehog directly off of this, but I won't be using this today because I put in the Ghost Master or Ghost Monster, no, Smoke Monster, that's his name, the Smoke Monster firmware. I have a number of them. I haven't really put anything up in my new apartment since I moved in 2017. But this year is my actual childhood copy of Sonic the Hedgehog, which is basically the version I played growing up, but we're not going to use the cartridge today because we're going to be playing the FM sound mod of Sonic the Hedgehog for Master System. So basically what you see here, if you're not familiar, this is the Sega Mark III, which is effectively to the European and South American Master System what the Famicom was to the NES. And the older style on the Sega Mark III, it makes it look, honestly, a decade older than it actually is, so it's probably a good idea that they redesigned it for the West and for South America. But what Famicom, I mean, the Mark III had slightly better graphics than the Famicom, but the Famicom, because the Famicom had additional sound chips that were not in the NES, and then in addition to that, the disk system added even more sound capabilities to the Famicom, so Mark III had the advantage in terms of graphics, but the Famicom with the disk system was still much better in terms of sound quality, even though I personally think the Mark III or Game Gear hardware has a really general superior edge in terms of sound compared to the NES. But basically, they made the Sega FM unit as a solution to woo over people that might have liked the Master System or Mark III's better graphics than the Famicom, but wanted better sound capabilities. Sega, the 8-bit version of Sonic the Hedgehog only came out on Game Gear in Japan. The home console version of Sonic the Hedgehog never came out in in Japan, on the Mark III. And actually, they did release the Master System in Japan, which is a whole other weird little story. But basically, the home console version of 8-bit Sonic never came to Japan. So and the FM sound unit never came to North America or Europe, even though the Japanese Master System had the FM sound unit built into it, which is a whole kind of weird thing. But basically, Sonic the Hedgehog and the FM unit never crossed paths. Oh, even if you never even heard of the 8-bit version of Sonic before, just the fact that you're here learning about it would make you more than cool enough, in my opinion. So we're gonna play a mod someone made. I think they're called Melonbell or something, or Valleybell. I don't know if it's one person or if it's a team, but Valleybell made a hack of what Sonic for Master System would have sounded like if the FM sound unit capabilities were built into the game, because the Mega SG does support compatible games with FM sound. And it's going to be interesting because you're basically going to be hearing an 8-bit Sonic game, but with better sound quality than the Genesis. It's going to be interesting. But for now, we're going to play the Game Gear version, played from my own childhood cartridge. and this is the adapter that it goes into, so it'll fit in the Mega SG. So let's hook it up and get started. Well, it's funny. I'm not actually emulating it because we're playing the Valleybell mod, but I'm playing it through FPGA. So basically, well, FPGA, to loosely put it, it's basically hardware emulation instead of software emulation, because basically I put the ROM on an SD card and then put the SD card in the Mega SG with the flash firmware. Out the box, it cannot play ROMs off the SD card. It can only use, yeah, so basically, because I originally used a solution for last week, because the game, I meant to play this game another way. That was when I played Fantasy Zone for Master System, but it turns out I couldn't do it up with my Wii. So I flashed it with the Smoke Monster firmware just so I could play the ROM as a last-minute solution. But for non-commercial games or modifications, or for very rare games, like, I don't want to have to, when I play SG-1000 games, I don't want to have to import them. That's going to be very expensive for games I'm probably only get a few hours of gameplay out of. So for some cases, I will use the digital ROM file off the internet, but for the most part, I'd like to use the original cartridges when possible. So that's how we're going to be playing the FM mod. There are reproduction cartridges available of it, but those are quite expensive. Alright. Now, I'm using the 3-button Genesis pad. I believe this is kind of like the second generation of the original Genesis controller, because I believe the original one had red inlays in the A, B, and C buttons and on the D-pad. I do actually have the Master System Gamepad. There's a version that has a little hole in the center of the little D shield where you can screw in a little thumbstick. I don't have that version, and I've seen very few examples where the thumbsticks haven't been lost over time. The reason I'm not going to be using the Master System pad is because the Master System had a start button on the console that you keep close to, because we're still in that sort of older style. Alright, if I use the Master System controller, it's going to be hard because I can't pause the game. But, okay, when we go to... Since it's a viewer request, when we go to Sonic for Master System, we will be, I'm going to give it a shot for the first time on stream using the Master System pad. The D shield, this shield, this little square, what they call a D button in the manual, this is basically the substitute for, Nintendo having a patent on the actual plus-shaped chips. You see, even on the Genesis pad, it's kind of a round shield shape, so it's not quite infringing on the patent. If I plug the 3 into port 2, can I pause? We'll find out. But for now, let's try it now. Let's see. Let's see real quick. Can I pause? I never tried this before. Let's see. Okay. So core. Actually, no. We don't want cores. We want to run the cartridge. Okay. Actually, I doubt I'd be able to. Yeah, the start button doesn't even register. Because I guess because it's a single player game. Alright. So you're just gonna see, alright, so. Yeah, that's Sega Chant. That was the first time I ever heard the Sega chant, was through the speaker of my Game Gear. Now, if you've seen the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, you'll notice that, well, I was really thrilled with the Sonic movie from the beginning, because when they showed that view of that overhead view of the island that's on Sonic's original planet, they very clearly based that off of Sonic, this 8-bit version of Sonic the Hedgehog. Because there's no, in the game itself, I believe the 8-bit version of Sonic the Hedgehog, when they have that map screen that shows what part of the island you're on, that is really, as I believe it, the first visual depiction of Sonic's world. And it's funny because, well, I keep saying it's funny a lot, excuse me. But one thing that's interesting is that it's pretty common now that Sonic, the first Sonic game, or the first few, take place in a place called South Island. but in the North American localizations, in the English language localizations, I don't think the location of the game was ever said to be South Island. So this game is really kind of the first indication that this game is taking place on an island where Sonic and his friends live. Now, if you're not familiar with this version of the game, it's basically, this was made by Ancient and Uzo Koshiro of Streets of Rage composer fame. He actually went ahead and composed some new tracks for this, like this being one of them. In general, I feel like they were kind of playing to the strengths of and they could have just tried to port and make a lamer version of the Master System, I mean the Genesis version, but instead they played to the system's strengths and made something, I think, that really played, I mean, they made the best 8-bit version of Sonic they really could have, I think. And with, like, they didn't recreate the loop-de-loops. They later 8-bit Sonic games on Game Gear Master System did have the loop-de-loops, but I guess they felt like they couldn't pull that off well. So instead of the loop-de-loops, they have ramps that launch Sonic high into the air to give a sense of speed. And also, you notice when I grabbed the Speed Shoes icon at the beginning of the first stage, that was actually the only Speed Shoes icon in this entire game. And I guess between the ramp launches and the Speed Shoes, they really wanted to use that first level to give some kind of a sense of speed. But in general, the game is it's slower paced, more about slower paced platforming than speed. And, for instance, they didn't feel confident in trying to create the crazy rotation and effects of the special stage from the Genesis version. So they turned the special stage into sort of a loosely pinball-themed stage, where you're collecting rings and bouncing off springs. But as you see here, the Chaos Emerald is just... The Chaos Emeralds are hidden within the game worlds here. So it's more of a platforming and exploration challenge than simply being good at the special stages. In this version, the special stages are only used for collecting 1-ups and continues, and bonus points if you care about such things. And it's funny because that first Chaos Emerald's very easy to Oh yeah, there was a NES port of this game made by, I believe there's at least one that was made, like, genuinely, like, to be a real bootleg by some bootleggers slash homebrewers based out of Asia. And hey, a collector boy, by the way. I already said hi to you before. You were already in. And then, oh yeah, to get the special stage you need 50. That's another thing. In the Genesis game, the panel starts off with Robotnik, Sonic spins it, and it turns into Sonic's face. And this one, the panel starts off as a question mark, and you get different results for the board. Like, you can get a ring, which gives you 10 rings, a Sonic icon, which gives you a 1-up. Also, you can earn... What else is there? There's just the Robotnik head, which is just nothing. Then there's the exclamation mark, which you get if you collect more than 50... If you end the stage with more than 50 rings. Between 50 and 100 rings. If you get more than 99, you get a 1-up, but you don't it loops back over to 100. And I don't really know what in particular triggers the other results, like the ring or the 1-up. I mean, I don't know if it takes... Like, if you have to end the stage with, like, if it's like the fireworks in Super Mario Brothers, where it just depends on what the time is on the clock at the end of the stage. Alright. Oh, well, I didn't get the continue. Oh, well. Yeah, it's a lot easier to get the continue in the Master System version. Do I continue, Hey, Zinnerfang. Do I defer the MS Sonic music or Genesis Sonic music? I mean, I wasn't, like, when I was a kid, I got this in 91, I really wasn't sophisticated enough to understand the difference between the 8-bit version and the 16-bit version. Well, for me, I didn't know Master System existed this time. I didn't know Master System existed until, like, 94, 95. And I didn't see the system itself. What I saw was a friend had a Genesis with the power-based converter, which I'll get into later if you remind me, but I just knew that I just knew that there was a Genesis version and a Game Gear version. And to me, the main difference was that the Game Gear version, I understood that they had different levels. Like, for instance, the Marble Zone is not in this 8-bit version. It's only in the Genesis version. So I knew that, like, there were different zones, but I really wasn't, and the stages were laid out a little differently, because what I would do is, on Nick Arcade, sometimes they'd play Sonic the Hedgehog, and I would play it at the same time in Game Gear, and because I didn't have Genesis, I only could see it in glimpses, but I could tell by looking at what was happening on them playing on TV, was that the stages had different layouts in Green Hill Zone. Really, I just like Game Gear and Master System sound, even without the FM sound thing. It has a very, like, Master System and Game Gear games, if you're even loosely familiar with Game Gear, you could hear a game you've never played or seen before, you can just hear it and know, like, okay, that's definitely running on Master System or Game Gear sound hardware. Just how you could often, NES is pretty distinctive, but I believe the Master System sound is even more distinctive than NES in terms of having a unique sound that you could instantly recognize. Yeah, so instead of Marble Zone, we have Bridge Zone, which I guess and it's funny, Uzo Koshiro actually did an 8-bit rendition of the Marble Zone theme for this game, and it's actually was recovered when we dumped the ROM and were examining what files were in there. But I guess they decided that all the lava and the traps and stuff, I guess, wasn't suited to what they felt confident with attempting on Game Gear. So instead they just did a more platforming themed stage. And the second level of this is an auto-scroller, which is kind of infamous. It's like, who the heck put an auto-scroller in a Sonic game? But this is, like, only the second Sonic game ever made. And this is the first Sonic game I played, and this game really was my impression of what Sonic was. So the idea that having an auto-scroller stage being this weird alien thing... Oh, that's the second Chaos Emerald, by the way. And if we collect all the Chaos Emeralds, we will get a ending in this game that I believe is better than the ending than the ending in the Genesis version when you complete all the emeralds. So ultimately, I have more personal feelings for the Genesis version sound quality. And as I was mentioning before, there's been at least one bootleg version of Sonic from, like, the late 90s where they tried to recreate the Sonic the Hedgehog Genesis game using the Famicom or NES hardware. And then I think it was called Somari, and then I think some fans hacked Somari to try to make a better quality version. I don't know if there's ever been, like, a from-scratch homebrew effort to port Sonic to the Master System. To NES. But basically, I feel like Collectible was saying, this game seems much more colorful than the version where they tried to port the Sonic Master System game to, they tried to port this to the NES. And ultimately, I feel like, because this system, even though it's an 8-bit system, I feel like I already have maxed out extra lives. I've already earned my continue. Alright. 92. Alright, I just don't have a good angle to get back over there. I'm a few rings short. If any continues I get to keep even if I run out of time. But in terms of rings, if, like, I have to earn all the rings, so. And actually, my first experience with it's funny, over the years, they've been many, like, especially, I think started with Sonic Adventure 2, or 2 Battle on GameCube. They've been various versions of, like, Sonic collections. I know, like, Sonic Mega Collection and Gems Collection, I think also. Many of these games have the Master System port of Sonic the Hedgehog on them. No, excuse me, they have the Game Gear port of Sonic on them. And I know a lot of North America really doesn't have any experience with the Master System version of Sonic. North America is only, well, I mean, we had limited release of Sonic on Master System, but in Europe and in South America, the Master System version of Sonic was a lot of people's. It was a major release for Sonic the Hedgehog because Master System continued to be popular in Europe up into the early and mid '90s. And so a lot of people who, you know, parents, they wanted to give their kids a cheaper system, or they weren't ready to upgrade it to Mega Drive, as the Genesis was known over there, would not. So for a lot of people, this 8-bit version of Sonic was what they played with. It was their version of Sonic the Hedgehog. So a lot of people, I know, I've seen various comments about, oh, you know, why did they port, you know, in Sonic Gems Collection or Mega Collection, for instance, why did they put the Game Gear version of Sonic the Hedgehog when they could have put the Master System version? Because the Game Gear version, this does suffer from screen crunch. Levels are redesigned, different hazards are redesigned to accommodate for the screen crunch to make the game a lot fairer. Some say the accommodations for the smaller screen make this a much easier version of the game, and this is a fairly easy game as it is. I'm not an expert game player. It's not often that I have a platformer I can just sit down and beat pretty much on command like this one. But a lot of people, I have seen criticisms of those games like, oh, why did they bring the Game Gear version instead of the Master System version? But the thing is, this game, the Master System version, the home console 8-bit version of Sonic the Hedgehog never actually appeared on the Mark III in Japan. So those versions would have been kind of alien in Japan's mother country. Therefore, the only exposure Japan would have to this game would have been the Game Gear version, which is why I think the Game Gear version has generally been more widely supported. I never played the Master System version of this game until I played it on the Wii's Virtual Console. I only played it a couple of times, and it just felt really slow to me. It felt slow, and like it wasn't... Now, this version of this stage, the Master System version is much harder. The Game Gear version, it is... Now, if you look, I want to see what the full map is, because on the left there, you can see some kind of a little nook that is, not... Oh no, I usually do not... It's probably because I was trying to show up that spot to the left. You see, I already have more than 9 lives. Only in the intermission screens between between stages can you see... So I have 10 lives and all. Let's see if I could do a single credit run of this. Not likely, but it would be cool if I did. I haven't taken to speedrunning this yet. I just like picking it up every few months and showing it off because... especially in North America, because it was on the Game Gear... A lot of people, and I see a lot of reviews of this too, kind of just take this as a watered-down, inferior version of the Genesis game, when it is its own unique version. You know, now for this game, both versions of this are pretty easy. This version is easier in terms of that there's really... Yeah, I was being a little clumsy there, so I lost my shield. In the Genesis version of this game, the third act of each zone is its own full-fledged stage with a Robotnik fight at the end. In this version, the third stage is nothing but the Robotnik battle. So to make up for the third stage being so short, there are no rings available in the first stage. And you have to... Now, you can beat this boss much faster. I'm just using the more conservative strat, sitting in the center and striking once. Now, if I kneel down either here or at the bottom of the arc of the bridge, either of those spots will... I'll be safe from Robotnik's bullets at either of those spots. If I kneel down here, or if I go down to the bottom of the sag of the bridge. Now, in the Master System, the Master System version of the arena does have water hazards. So this version is theoretically a lot safer, but that version also has very obvious very easy to notice safe spots. Now we have Jungle, which is the second unique zone made for this game. And given the themes of Sonic about, the forest versus factories and, considering that whole theme of Sonic, I really feel like the Jungle Zone is a really great fit for this game. And it would have been a cool addition to the Genesis version, but it's something that makes this unique. The backgrounds with all these fruit and foliage, it feels so lively to me, and the music is a great fit as well. But I've always felt those backgrounds were so lively, and it really does feel like I'm in a lush, verdant jungle. And talking about the themes of Sonic the Hedgehog, and why I really feel like Robotnik and Sonic are such great characters to play off each other, it's kind of like with Batman and the Joker. It's like there's not like there's an existing sort of trope or cliche about clowns and bats or anything like that. But they're just such great characters to play off each other. And I feel the same way for Sonic and Robotnik. Getting into the themes of Sonic the Hedgehog, where you just have factories, versus forests, industrialism versus conservationism, progress versus preservation, and with animals versus robots, which I feel is a really important theme that I don't think is really maybe talked about as much, and conformity versus individual freedom, because when you have Sonic the Hedgehog, he's such a free spirit. He's the stereotypical 90s attitude kind of guy. Chaos Emeralds right there. And they're going to go for a 100% run for reasons which I'm actually discussing already. But the theme of animals versus robots were, like, Sonic's free, no one really tells him what to do, he does his own thing, he's got an attitude, he's a smarty pants. And then the theme of Robotnik turning the animals into robots. Where, a robot, they're programmed, they obey orders, they're about conformity, uniformity. And so the idea of Robotnik turning the forest into factories, turning the animals into robots that he can control and have to obey him, I think is part of why these games stuck so well to me, and they really kind of played up on these themes a lot in these ABC Saturday morning Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon, and in a post Sonic, and I'll get into that real quick. It's just the fact that, did I ever play Sonic Forces? Yeah, Sonic Forces was really frustrating because a lot of the marketing seemed to be appealing to some of the same things that some of the ideas were similar to the Sonic Saturday morning cartoon. Xanier Fang, is... Oh, sorry, I missed a lot of chat there, excuse me. Yeah, at this point, I think the levels are just repeating. But is anyone here familiar with the Sonic Saturday morning cartoon, from the early 90s? That was on ABC? Is anyone here familiar with that? But basically, if anyone's not, basically they had to create, all they had at the time was the Sonic the Hedgehog, like the first game, and the concept art from Sonic 2. So based on that, they made this concept where Robotnik had already taken over the world, and Sonic and his friends were freedom fighters that were part of an underground resistance movement that were doing sabotage missions on Robotnik's factories, and they really played into the robot transformation aspect where Robotnik would capture freedom fighters, he'd put them in this machine that would transform them into robots that, you could make forced to work or fight for him. And now this stage here, in the Master System oh no! Oh no, there goes our single credit run. Rest in peace, single credit run. But in the Master System version, this is a ratchet scroller, so that ground there, if it scrolls off screen, now that round no longer exists, and Sonic would have fallen to his death at that point. Would I have preferred if Universal built a Sonic-themed land instead of Nintendo World? Frankly, I would much rather have had... Yeah, the Nintendo and Mario theming for Universal Park was definitely the better choice. The modern, like the post-Sonic Adventure continuity for Sonic the Hedgehog really doesn't do much for me. I don't have much nostalgia for it. And I know in like post-Sonic Adventure, where they started to actually put a lot more lore and plot into the games themselves, they didn't have all that to work with when they were developing the Sonic stories outside of the games in North America and Europe, and even in Japan. So I've heard a lot of complaints about people who grew up with post-adventure era Sonic, then they go back and look at the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon, and they're like what they call Sonic Sat AM, and they're like, what were they thinking? Like, Eggman isn't like that. Like, well, Eggman isn't that scary, and who are all these weird, who's Princess Sally, who's Rotor, who are all these weird characters? Like, they were so unfaithful to the source material. But they're thinking of post-Sonic Adventure, and all that source material did not exist at the time. And a lot of the comments are about like Robotnik's roboticizer that he uses. And it's like, why is he transform the animals into robots? He's supposed to be capturing the animals inside robots. But if you actually look at the manuals for Sonic at this time, they don't say that Robotnik is capturing the animals and putting them in robots. It says that in the Japanese version. But I guess in the English language version, I guess they decided the idea of them capturing robots and putting them inside robots as a power source was a little too complicated and weird to explain briefly. Now this is a death trap, especially in the Master System version. You have to balance on that carefully so the spring doesn't knock you back into the board, because if you fall, that is the end of your game. Because I guess they felt for the smaller screen size here, they decided to make it so that the screen can scroll down as well as up. In the Master System version, it is a ratchet scrolling level, kind of like Kid Icarus or Contra, where anything that does not exist on screen no longer exists in the game world. So at this point, we're just getting the same stages with more severe time limits. The stages and the special stages in the Game Gear version, or rather in the Master System version, are much more challenging. Like for instance, when there's a bed of springs in the Master System version, in this version, whenever there's a bed of springs, oh shucks, I missed the continue. Not that we're gonna need it, but in the Master System version, there's different color springs that bounce you at different heights. And this version, they're all the same color springs, so it makes it much easier to navigate the special stages. Alright, I have nothing to lose, well, except the points I earned, so let's go to the end of the stage already. Yeah, I believe Mario has much richer stuff to draw from than Sonic the Hedgehog, frankly. Alright, so we're at the Jungle Zone boss fight now. Now, to make up for the fact that there's no rings to collect, in every one of these Robotnik stages there is a one-up box that's hidden very slightly out of the way early on in the stage. You can only collect it once. The Genesis version doesn't let you carry shields between stages and zones. This version, if you complete a stage with your shield, and it's funny, if I did not take that one, if I wasn't clumsy with that one Robotnik fight, I'd actually still have the shield now, because I haven't taken any hits since then. Actually, no, I wouldn't still have the shield, because I did take that, I did lose a credit in Jungle Act 2, showing off. Now, if you touch the cannonball before Robotnik's death animation finishes, before the cannonball and its little poof of dust leave the screen, you can still take a death there. So let's see how many lives we have. 16 lives. And really, not even counting that one death we took. Now, here's Labyrinth. Which, funnily enough, is the first zone in this game that's based on something that's from the Genesis version. So far, in case you don't get a chance, I hope you have a happy Easter this summer. I probably, frankly, won't, because I really don't even watch TV anymore. Wait, that reminds me, is the Easter Beagle, is that even gonna be on ABC this year? Because I know, like, wasn't Charlie Brown, was it either Halloween or Christmas wasn't even aired on television, on, like, broadcast television, it was just on Apple or something like that? And, oh yeah, since before anyone, in case I don't get a chance later, that does remind me. I did change what next week's stream's gonna be. It's gonna be next week at noon. Originally, I was going to do a stream. I was going to go back to Paper Mario. Instead, I decided to do. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna do a retrospective for the Nintendo 3D. Come on, bubble. There we go. Yeah, I'm doing a retrospective of the Nintendo 3DS, and we're gonna watch every single video I made on YouTube about the Nintendo 3DS. It's gonna take, like, at least 6 hours. It's gonna include, the video I made, like, 10 or 15 minutes after the announcement of the 3DS. And it's gonna include, videos I made, like, speculating on the 3D, on, you know, what games we're gonna see at E3 that year, because that was E3 2010. There are videos of me and my friends going to, you know, taking the train to the Nintendo store to view the E3 presentation. I just narrowly avoided those spikes, by the way. Yeah, it's basically a vlog of us going to E3 and watching. I only cut down. I cut it down to only the parts of the E3 presentation that concern the 3DS specifically, because later I'm going to do an E3 stream, or E3 retrospective, where we watch the entirety of E3, but I have videos of, like, just any video I made about the 3DS, also some videos about the Vita, because I did do a bit of a collaboration with the Street Pass NYC group. Basically, kind of, it wasn't anti-PlayStation Vita videos, but it was basically, like, Vita was kind of, and I was excited for Vita. Now look at this, we've got a ring there, but if we hit that ring box, oh no, we just have to hit the box. And now it's a 1-up, which is much more attractive, because we already have the 50. Now look at these pillars. He actually, the ones in the background he walks in front of, the ones in the foreground he walks behind, which is a cool little layering effect. But basically, I feel like Vita was the very last system that was handled by a game console manufacturer with a really cutthroat console wars mentality, where they make statements like dissing the other systems or players of the other system. And so I do kind of respond to that. I sort of make fun of some of Vita's, a few of their lifestyle shots, but I do also make another video where I said, hey, I know I made fun of some of Vita's lifestyle shots, but if you look at Nintendo, they've done the same thing with Game Boy Advance lifestyle shots in the past. And really, it was just the comments, like when 3DS was outselling Vita, like Jack Tretton or someone made us some comments like, oh well, like 3DS sold more units, but you know, the players we have on Vita, they're like real gamers, you know, they're more dedicated, they're dedicated gamers, whereas the 3DS doesn't have that. So and then there was another comment before launch, it's like, oh well, 3DS is just a babysitting tool, Vita is going to be the real system. And it's like, okay, if it was just some guy on the internet saying that, fine, but this is not the early 90s, you know, Sega versus Nintendo, super, like, cutthroat dissing, you know, other players. You know, it was really... And it's a shame what happened with the Vita, because I feel like the second Vita wasn't an instant, no, like smash hit. Sony just totally gave up on it, and it deserved better than that. But, okay. We got a shield. I really didn't even need to pause there, because I have plenty of time. And if I had paused, it would have just, Sonic would have just stood there. I have 10 minutes to complete the stage. There's only a couple of stages. Only once in, like, Scrap Brain Act 1, I believe, did I ever really feel in danger of running out of time. And the potentially longest stage of the game is a maze level in Scrap Brain. And that one level does not have a timer on it. Because they're like, okay, we know this stage, the challenge of this stage is just navigating it, so don't worry about the time, just take all the time you need to, yeah, I'm not doing a Cadbury egg this year, because I'm, concerned about my dental health, but, yeah, Cadbury eggs is one of those things where if you like, chocolate stuff, it's like, you gotta, I know, like I said, for me, and I know it's kind of been a joke, I think other people have said it, I want one, I get one, a Cadbury egg, and I eat it, and it's that last little bit, I just feel so grossed out by how rich and, creamy the egg, and I make it sound like a Cadbury commercial already. Just how, like, rich and thick and sweet and gooey it is. Oh, come on. Come on. Alright. We nailed it. Okay. I got lucky with that blood right there. Oh yeah, I brush... Like, even when I ate candy more, I'd brush my teeth immediately after, or have sugar-free gum, like, right there, like, immediately to, like... And also, like, Oreos. I love regular chocolate Oreos, but after... And that's another thing I've had to lay off, and even just, like, in the last few days, I've had to be like, no Oreos. Or, like, even, like, what they call the golden Oreos? Oh my gosh, that was so clumsy of me. Even, like, the golden Oreos are, like, I like those as well, but they're much better in this aspect. It's just the idea that, now this is really cool. Oh, actually, no, I'm thinking of something that doesn't apply to this version of the game. In the Master System version, you need to use that invincibility block in order to, yeah, you need to use that invincibility block, yeah, in order to, claim the Chaos Emerald. Here, they just put it there. They don't even try to do anything. But in the Master System version, you need to do a cool thing where you use the invincibility block to phase through some spikes that the Chaos Emerald is laid within. Alright, so... Man, we've cleared every single level with a bonus stage. Actually, I believe this is the last opportunity. This stage right here, Labyrinth Act 2, is the last stage in the game where you have an opportunity to access the special stage. Oh no! Okay. Yeah, so that right there is the last opportunity. So basically, we actually have seen every special stage variant in the game. You know, I wonder, I'm just thinking, I could go through, I have, basically every single time in my life that I've beaten this game, I have it on video. So I wonder, yeah, I wonder if I go back and look at all the times I completed the game, look at all my scores on the Master System version as compared to the Game Gear version, see which one I, on average, score the highest points in. That would be interesting. For all of these games, I'm using the safest strats, not the fastest ones. So I'm going to be playing it. This is going to be a very slow fight. This is a lot harder on the Master System, I think. But in general, it should be very easy to get into a rhythm where I'm constantly at absolute minimal risk at every moment. So I could safely get in 2 hits right there. So that'll make this a little quicker. Like, if I was being aggressive and trying to beat this as quickly as possible, this can be a very dangerous fight, but playing it in this pattern, you get very consistent results. Alright. Because what I'm doing is I'm standing far enough to the left. I'm standing as close to the chasm as I can to lure the... Because if I'm even one... I think I'm just 1 pixel to the right of the center of Robotnik's sprite. What happens is the boss will launch the torpedo in the direction that Sonic is facing. There we go. So now I just have to walk over to the right, and it shoots away, because it's assuming that I'm probably going to be in that direction. And in that center spot there, I could just easily duck the energy blast. And the torpedoes are very slow. On the Master System, because of the timing of it, it makes it a little trickier to... There we go. To hit... To jump, to dodge the torpedo, hit Robotnik, and be down in time to avoid... Oh, by the way, there is no oxygen limit in this game. You have infinite time underwater in this 3rd stage. When I was a kid, did I ever get one of those colorful eggs made of sugar and frosting, and there's a diorama scene inside the egg? I've never seen that. I not only have I not seen that before, I don't think I've heard of that before. If I look at it, maybe I might recognize it. Now, here we are, we're in Skybase. I mean, not Skybase, we're in Scrap Brain, and just look at the lights. First off, this Uzo Koshiro remix of the Scrap Brain theme, I think, is much, much better than the Genesis version. The Genesis version always feels like it's missing the melody. Like, the melody doesn't get properly started in the way that it otherwise would. But I just love the red sky and the domes with all the lights on them. I don't think these little purple caterpillars here, or pink rather, yeah, look at the flashing lights, the scaffolding, the conveyor belts. Well, really more in the background, more so than anything. So much atmosphere, and you really feel like, hey, if you were a person living in this world, and you might, if you look at it from a certain point of view, it's like, hey, you know, he took this island that had nothing, Robotnik took this island that had nothing on it, and he built all these cities and factories, and maybe if you're living in this city, maybe life's pretty good for you. Or if you're you know, if you were a robot, this would be a pretty fun place to live. But it's coming at the cost of, you know, the destruction of Sonic and his friends' world and their forests and jungles and habitats. So I really do like, it really does bring in that industrialization versus conservationism sort of theme. And to that end, I really do, and for a last level of first level Scrap Brain, I really feel like this level's very tame, and it basically is more of an introduction to different traps and ideas that we will encounter in the second 2 stages. Now, the second 2 stages of Scrap Brain are effectively maze stages of different types. I figured this out. If you look at some of my older streams, you can actually watch me. I know, when I started streaming, this is really the first time I properly picked up and played these games since I was a kid, and as a kid, I never got this far. So you really kind of got to, even though I've been playing this game since '91, you got to see me like really learn how to beat what beating the game was like. And learning the tricks and, oh shucks, the tricks and traps of these last couple of worlds. And these last couple of stages of the Scrap Brain. Yeah, I believe there are some enemies added in this handheld version. Alright, and we jump down. Now, yeah, I've got a 1-up there. Now, okay, go down. Now you have a branch in the path, you go up or down. That's the beginning of this puzzle. Now, there are little pig enemies at the end. Those are not in the Master System version. The Master System version, even though this never came out on the... I don't think this was even ever intended for the Mark III. in Japan. But basically, the Master System version is the progenitor version of this edition of Sonic the Hedgehog. And now, I've never been successful. You know, you have a teleporter there. Did my parents ever make you take a photo with the shopping center Easter Bunny, or would that have scared you? I was never interested in it, so I never did it. The closest I came to that was in... So, okay, check this out. This is... So we jump down here, we cross through, and we hit the switch, which switches those two gates. Either that one's... It's open like that, or it's open like that. So I come through from the top, hit that switch. And we go back around. And this is a door that just lets you through. And now... This first... Now, I discovered this by accident, but this first hole here takes you down here, and this is where you earn the Chaos Emerald at. So it wouldn't have scared me, I just wouldn't have been interested. And that's the Chaos Emerald. So we earn the Chaos Emerald. We only have one Chaos Emerald left. And we jump across. I don't think, I do remember, we'd go to, because we lived in New York City, we did go to the famous Macy's on 42nd Street to meet Santa there. So that was my, you know, if you've seen Miracle on 34th Street, you know, that whole trope of, you know, going to the giant original Macy's to meet the Santa, and those were really fond memories. But, so Santa, and then, so we're back at this fork in the road, so we're gonna go down again. So if you go to the top first, or the bottom first, you end up at a dead end. You have to figure out the right way to go through here. So that's that. But I remember once my pre-K brought a Santa to come over, you know, and meet the kids, and he, you know, you give each kid like a toy. And there were all kinds of different things, and you didn't know what he was going to give you, I guess. That's how I remember it, but... I wasn't a bad kid or anything, but at some point I must have did something that annoyed my mom, or something. This is like pre-kindergarten, you have to remember. But basically, the Santa, you know, I sat on his lap, he's like, oh, are you a good boy this year? And so now I could go to the left here and complete the stage. So at this point we've solved the stage. The gimmick of the stage. Oh, shucks. Fortunately... yeah, it's not every day that I don't think I've ever lost my rings to that before. But at this point I don't think there are any more hazards in the rest of the stage, so we're pretty safe. Okay, so there's fire that you can walk right under, there's a Caterpillar. Which I do like his 8-bit sprite more than his 16-bit one. But anyway, the Santa I'm sitting on the Santa's lap, and he's like, oh, were you a good boy this year? I'm like, no. Because I'm like, well, he knows anyway, so I might as well be truthful. And, the Santa, no one expected kids to sit on Santa's lap and say that they weren't good that year. So it's kind of funny. It's like, oh, well, I think we could work out something. And he gave me a Thomas the Tank Engine jigsaw puzzle, which is something I actually would have wanted. I wonder if they told the kids' parents what as part of this. They told they asked the parents what their kid liked and try to find something from that. And that might have been why he had a Sonic puzzle for me. Okay, so this is the puzzle stage. You gotta focus a little bit. So this is our first branching path here. Okay, we go straight. You go straight, you go down. Okay, that doesn't activate. Straight down, you go up. Straight down. Up. Left. Up. Up, and you go left here. Yeah, well, Santa, I guess he says, oh, well, you know, I think we could work out something, you know, and so, that switch, all that switch does is make the gate come down. Oh, we've solved the puzzle, by the way. If you don't know how that works, it took me, I think, the better part of an hour. Oh no, it's Robotnik, go get him! You know, that was such a shock seeing my brother get this far, and it's like, oh, we're in the backseat of my parents' car. My older brother, he's been better at video games than me. And I'm, you know, peeking over his shoulder, because I never got really... If I got up to Labyrinth, it was a big deal. I don't think I ever beat Labyrinth as a kid, so I never got to see this unless my brother got this far, and that wasn't that often. So Robotnik took an elevator up into Skybase. And so, yes, Scrap Brain is not the conclusion of the game in this version. There's actually another zone. So, well, I wasn't trying to be clever or anything. So, yeah, I wasn't trying to be clever. I was just trying to, I was like, was I good? Well, I got in trouble once, so no. And it was like, probably nothing. It was like nothing that... It was probably something so minor that my mom didn't even remember it. Alright. I want to grab my, Ooh, that could have been scary. Oh my gosh. I was, for some reason, I had this weird reflex where I was afraid of, or non-reflex, where for some reason I felt fearful of ducking, and I don't know why, and that's what cost me my shield and my rings in that moment. And there are no checkpoints here. If I lose a credit, oh shucks, if I lose a credit, I gotta do the whole stage over. Now this took a lot. Now I could, I don't think, it's been a long time since I died in these stages, but when I was first playing this game on stream, which is really the first time I was playing these stages in my life, it was a bit of a challenge. It took me a number of credits. I think I did game over here, actually, even. Okay. Well, I figured I still had to be good. Like, I remember, like, Christmas Eve night, and I guess maybe 93, waking up from a dream where, like, I went to the living room and there was nothing there, and my parents were crying because I guess I wasn't good enough, and they were sad that they weren't upset at me for not being good, they were upset that I didn't get any toys. So I woke up and went out into the living room and saw all the toys, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And went to bed. And it makes me, I feel like so, like, materialistic, like, saying that, but I'm just a little kid, of course, you know, you can't take things like that too serious. Man, I was hoping I could dodge that, but... Yeah, these, if you jump, and also, at first, I was fearful that if the platform came to a stop, that it would cause the end of, that it would then sink down and lose. But the platform actually just stays there when you reach the end, and it only moves when Sonic's actually standing on it. Oh my gosh, that's scary. Ooh, please have rings or something up here? No, nothing. Okay, and we've boarded the airship. We've boarded Robotnik's Zeppelin/pirate ship. It's a cool sort of mix of the airship with propeller trope along with incorporating dirigible aspects to it. So, in this final zone of the Skybase, this is, at this point, it's kind of a lot like those later stages of Sonic, of Mario Brothers 3, where there's lots of bullets and cannons and everything. Okay, we made it on the platform first try. Doing it this way bypasses most of the basically all the hazards up there, which is very hard. It's very hard to get through it because notice that there's not even a ring counter on the stage. It is just, it's like, yeah, no rings. You gotta do this in a perfect run. And if I don't switch platforms here, I will eventually get a game over. I'll eventually be unable to complete the stage, and I'll have to try again. Eventually, these do come into close range with the cannons, which can make it a little scary. But this way, it's like... Oh. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you're skipping, like, the vast majority of the hazards going through this way. I don't know if there was a Sonic cereal, and if there was, I never eat it. The Sonic SpaghettiOs I probably ate. I probably definitely had the Sonic SpaghettiOs at least once. You know, because it's not the best quality food, but a child of the early 90s. Hey, and there it is, the final Chaos Emerald. So, on one hand, this is an easier path in the sense that... Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, I just was not... Was it that the ship was bobbing up and down and I kind of missed? Okay. That's just hard to... That was just not misjudging how to hit the platform. I really wish I had not... I mean, there's no hazard. Like, I don't have to recollect the Chaos Emerald. Once you collect it, you've got it. It's really just annoying in terms of all the time. Now, in terms of actual, like, lack of skill losing the stage, that was my first loss of the game. If it was not for the just being a goofus and falling off the platform in Jungle Act 2 at the beginning when I was jumping around aimlessly as I was just sort of jumping around idling while I was talking about level design stuff. If I did not fall off the platform at the beginning of the stage then, like a klutz, this right there would have been my first lost credit of the game. So if I was going for a single credit run, that would have been a frustratingly and torturously close to the ending. Because after this, after a few more seconds of gameplay from where I took the cannon blast and died, and about 10 or 15 more seconds worth of gameplay, I would have reached effectively the end of the game, where the only remaining hazard is the final boss fight with Robotnik. Yeah, I didn't consider the movement of this, like this, I guess to simulate the movement of the ship. Yep, there we go. Yeah, to simulate the movement of the ship, the stage is moving, and the movement of the bullets from the cannon blast, like the shells. I love all these control panels. These flashing control panels give a real sense of, like, a technological, computery kind of theming and aesthetic of the stage. Look at that, all those beautiful Chaos Emeralds down there. And now all we have left is the final battle. And so I don't think there was a Sonic cereal, and if there was a Sonic cereal, I didn't hear of it and I didn't beat it. I definitely got at least one of the Sonic, I got one of the Sonic 3 Happy Meal toys, which is, I've unfortunately lost in Hurricane Sandy, but it was I had the Sonic, I don't know if it was Sonic or if it was Knuckles, or there was kind of a launcher that launched the figure on wheels. Now there's a pattern. There's, okay, the first, the final, and then the middle. Now, as long as I'm on the far left as the lightning ball fires, it will always behave in the same manner. And there are no, like, as far as, at least from what I remember, there are no phases to this. Like, in the Master System version of this fight, which we'll see soon, there are kind of phases to the boss fight, where about halfway through, there's like, instead of this, there's an electric wall that goes back and forth, and it goes on and off. It turns on and off. In the first half of the fight, it goes back and forth on a set pattern. On the second half, it kind of tries to follow Sonic's movements a bit more. Oh no! That was klutzy. That was just... I did not need to take that death. That was just me not paying attention. That was me getting overconfident and not paying attention. Oh, okay. First, third, second. First, third. I have to remember first, third, second, because if I was in the second, I would have been fine. First, third, second. First, third, second. First, third. second. First. You have to remember first, third, second. Second. First. Third. Second. Okay. First. Third. And we got him. Oh, yeah, I like how he waits so he could... Yeah. Yeah, get back here, Eggman. And the tradition of Sonic the Hedgehog, when we defeat in the tradition of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, when we defeat Robotnik, we get to go to Olive Garden. Now, this ending here is not featured in the Genesis version. This is why I feel like this version of the game has a better ending than the Genesis version. The Genesis one, if you have all the emeralds, he just jumps up and like up close to the camera and gives a thumbs up. And this one, he actually uses the Chaos Emeralds to cleanse the island of Robotnik's pollution. So, in the tradition of Sonic the Hedgehog, when we defeat the Sonic the Hedgehog movie with Jim Carrey, when we defeat the Eggman, we get to go to Olive Garden. So we're gonna have this up for the rest of the stream. Now, for the speedrun rules for this, or the speedrun categories, collecting all the Chaos Emeralds gives you the maximum special. You get a special bonus for each Chaos Emerald you collect. So the 100% category for this game is known as Max Special Bonus, and so that's all. So now we get to have the ending theme here. So let's see. That took exactly an hour to. So because I went live at 1. Let's take away 5 or 6 minutes for me running my mouth at the beginning when I was on full screen, explaining today's stream. At those points, not counting that, this took basically exactly an hour to get through, which is interesting. Now, next we'll be playing the Master System version of Sonic the Hedgehog, but we're not playing. We're not going to be playing it like with right now. We're actually running this off my original cartridge here. Usually this is the cartridge I use for Sonic on Master System, but instead we're going to be playing the Sonic FM sound mod. Favorite dish, the ravioli's alright. The cheese ravioli, favorite dish at Olive Garden. Yeah, the regular spaghetti and marinara sauce is fine, or the ravioli, the cheese ravioli is good. I've only been to Olive Garden like 3 times in the last several years, so. Yeah, special thanks to Yoshio Y and Lunarian SG, nothing to do with my Lunarian alien characters from my own fictional universe. So instead of playing it off this cartridge, we're going to be playing it on the analog Mega SG. We're going to be playing the FM sound mod. And if you're not familiar, the FM sound... I'm just going to use my my own... Now, I'm just going to bring up an image of what this thing is like. No, so that's the console we're playing it on, and here is the Sega Mark Iii. Basically, they made a unit that attaches to the Mark III that gives the Mark III, or the Japanese equivalent of the Master System, the benefit of enhanced sound chip. and certain games that use this chip can actually have better sound quality than the Sega Genesis. So we're gonna be playing the home console version of this game with a modification, because the Master System version, this version of Sonic never came out on the Mark III in Japan, and this version of Sonic and the America and Europe and South America never got the FM sound unit from a version of it for Master System. So the Master System and the FM sound unit and the 8-bit version of Sonic never actually crossed paths in real life. So this is a version of what this game would sound like if it was enhanced for FM sound and released on the Mark III. Or if they released the FM sound unit in North America and Europe and Sonic 1 was enhanced for it. But first, we're gonna be taking a little break. I need to get up and stretch so I could conduct the rest of the stream. Unfortunately, I'm not the kind of streamer that could sit down for hours at a time. So I need to change my sound volume. FM sound is a lot louder than the regular sound, so I'm going to change it to... Yeah. I'm going to change the game to... Yeah, change it to 30 decibels. And I'll be back in 10 minutes. And at the end of those 10 minutes... hold on. I guess we change our title here. Sonic 1 for Master System FM Sound Mod. Oh, we'll be getting back to the Twin. We're gonna be playing more Twin B and more Fantasy Zone in the future. This definitely there'll be more cute 'em ups and regular, more traditional shoot 'em ups in the future. I definitely want to play Life Force, the other Twin B games. The other Fantasy Zone games. So I will be back in 10 minutes. And so thanks for sticking with me. And we're going to be playing Sonic the Hedgehog with enhanced sound for the with the FM sound module. So that's going to be really cool to hear. Okay, so I'll see you in a minute. everybody. Thanks for coming back, or for sticking with me, or okay. Let's get ready. So we're gonna be playing the Master System version of Sonic the Hedgehog, or the camera's inverted here, but we're not gonna use the actual cartridge today because we're gonna be playing with the FM sound unit, which is this thing I brought up. The left is the system this would have played on the right. You can see the box for the peripheral that added the extra sound chip. If you weren't here for my earlier explanation, there it is in chat. Just occurred to me. Where is... Yeah, I need... Yeah, chat. It just occurred to me. Chat. Yeah, where's the chat box? Chat box needs to... There we go. That's more like it. You've been enjoying the music? Yeah, I really like to have my chat appear on screen. I wish... I'm really disappointed that I didn't have my chat appearing on screen. Okay, let's boot up the system and get started. We're going to be playing with an actual Master System gamepad. This has the square-shaped, instead of the NES, like, cross-shaped control. I actually have a Wii Remote right here to show the difference. Whereas the Wii Remote, well, you can see the Wii Remote has the traditional plus-shaped D-pad. That Nintendo held a patent for that, but making it shaped like this and having a slightly different switch mechanism allows me to, oh, shoot. Let's see, look, I plugged in the Master System controller. I already forgot. I need a start button in order to activate the game. Alright, can I... Alright, so at least... So we're going to go under cores, and here's the SMS SG-1000, and so this came out in 2014, the Valleybell version by Team Valleybell, so it's more than one person. Or it could be one person calling themselves Team Valleybell, I don't know. Hold on, I'm going to swap controllers there. Okay. And the pause screen, I could... That's the enhanced version. And that's how it would have actually sounded. So... Versus... So, night and day difference with the sound there. And this is arguably better sound than what the Genesis... Okay. That's why it doesn't say, like the Master System version, it doesn't say press start, because there literally was not a start button. They're spending both Disney parks. That's good to hear. I'm surprised they're doing something... Yeah, because there's no start button on this. Part of the reason, because Serial Wars earlier in stream, he requested that I use the actual Master System pad, which is going to make it tough because there's no start button on the pad. You thought the idea was to keep the Mark III or the the Master System close to you, because a lot of consoles then would have buttons and switches to operate the different difficulty settings or to start the game, but put them on the console itself. So that was the thinking with the Master System, and there's no start or pause button on the Mega SG, because Mega SG is really more focused. The primary system it's covering is Genesis, so you can see how much larger. Now, if anyone's wondering why I have this TV frame up, well, I'll show you. With Master System games, there tends to be a very large. No, that's the wrong one. Where's my? Okay, here's my TV frame. Yeah, if you take away the frame, you look at that large loading scene on the bottom on the left. Like some games like Kirby's Adventure and Super Mario Bros. 3 had this on NES, but most Master System games had that. But on a period-accurate television, they would have been able... The curvature of the TV and the way that the tube was framed would cut off a lot of that. But the Mega SG is accurately creating, what's literally on the cartridge. So to sort of... It helps add to the period flavor a little bit. But also just to cover up the large loading scene. I went ahead and... No, other way, this way. There we go. Oh man, I did not mean to fly over all that stuff. Yeah, so that's the only Super Shoes icon of the game. Right now I'm kind of getting a feel for just using this, because before I was using it, when I was playing Sonic on Game Gear earlier in the stream, I was using the 3-button Genesis pad. Now that I'm using the Master System pad, which this is already probably the longest. I was surprised by how well the D-pad, like the D button as they call it, works for moving around in a platforming jumping game. The main reason I don't use the Master System pad, frankly, is just because there's no pause button on it. Yeah. Oh yeah, I started talking about Disney expanding. I was just kind of, because of the hit they took having to close for a year, and I was kind of surprised that they were going with expanding the park so soon. Because I know, like, Galaxy's Edge was not bringing in guests like they expected it to, and then they had to close for a year because of the, the disease control crisis. So I really didn't expect them to have to be. I think the What? Why does this feel so much? You know what? I feel this mod. Okay. I was trying to get to the wrong spot. Yeah, I was just flat out trying to get to the wrong spot. For a second, I was like, did this mod change the special stages? 6, 5. No! Like... No! Okay, actually, No, I'm not gonna restart. At least I got a 1-up. Not that I really need them. I only died like twice in the Game Gear run. Now, there are some changes made in the Game Gear, this Master System version is the original version they made, and then they adapted it for Game Gear. And when they did that adapting, they had to accommodate for the smaller screen aspect ratio. So the levels are, it's what they call screen crunch, where things are, maybe some platforms are reduced in their size or their distance to make it a fairer challenge. Because of some of those changes, a lot of people who are familiar with the Master System version, which tend to be European players or players from Central or South America, will say, the Master System, the Game Gear version is so much easier than the Master System one. I grew up with the Game Gear version, so there's some things that I feel make the Master System version a little more forgiving than the Game Gear version, actually. And this is the first time I've turned it on to make sure the ROM would run and everything. But this is the first time I'm playing this, properly playing through the game with the sound mod. So this is the first time I heard, the Chaos Emerald collecting theme and stuff like that. So it's really interesting hearing this sound that's arguably better quality than what the Genesis could do come out of this 8-bit game. Because the thing was, as I understood it, I always considered the Game Gear Master System to have better graphics and sound hardware than the NES, but in Japan it was a little different because the Famicom had additional sound hardware in it that the NES didn't, and then on top of that, the disc system was widely in circulation in Japan, and the disc system has even more sound hardware in it that wouldn't have been in the NES. I mean, that wouldn't have been in the Master System. Or the regular Famicom. So the Famicom has better sound hardware than the NES. Additional sound channels. You could play more effects without interrupting the music, things like that. Then the disc system had more sound capabilities on top of that. So even though the Master System arguably could boast better graphic capabilities, the Famicom with disc system was superior in terms of was the superior choice for audio quality. If all you cared about was having the best audio possible. Now, to collect that, you have to go down, and yeah. So I guess as a solution to the fact that the Famicom with the disc system had better sound capabilities than the Mark III, that's why Sega created the what came to be called the FM. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the special stage is much more difficult with the multiple strings that have different strengths to them. So you have to navigate more carefully where Sonic lands. Generally, it's much more challenging. The special stages are definitely the part that's more challenging than the Master System version. But some of the, like in Scrap Brain, I feel like the layouts, there are fewer enemies in Scrap Brain. Ultimately, I feel like for every change they made that would have made the Master System, the Game Gear version easier than the Master System version, there are other differences that make the Master System a lot easier and more forgiving than the Game Gear version. One difference you're going to see, if you're here for the first part of the stream, you saw during the Robotnik fight. And the Game Gear version, you can just jump up and hit him at any time. Here you have to wait until he swoops down to attack. And no, there is no cannonball. There's no wrecking ball that Robotnik swings back and forth in this version. Yeah, so in the Game Gear version, I could destroy him in one cycle before he even comes down to attack. But here, you have to have pretty much a frame-perfect jump in Robotnik's the animation. There's like one single pixel on his ship that you can actually strike while he's in the flying position. It's like literal speedrun grade strats where people who are competing for the world record are the kind of people who can sometimes, if they're very lucky, get that extra hit in on Robotnik while he's up there. Yeah, none of these Robotnik boss fights are very hard normally, but they're a lot more difficult when you're going for the speed strats. If you're playing conservatively and more for safety, none of the Robotnik fights pose a tremendous challenge. And you notice Robotnik did not, like I said, he didn't have the wrecking ball in this version, and like in the Genesis game, when Robotnik drops the wrecking ball, and then he looks at the camera and snickers like, haha, I came prepared. This time I brought a wrecking ball. In my head, I could almost think of that or reconcile that because as a kid, I was used to the Game Gear version because that's what I had growing up. So when I was at a friend's house and I saw it being played on the Genesis, doggone, that was just clumsy. Oh, and by the way, this track is the melody of this track is the basis for Janet Jackson's "Together Again." And this game came out in '91, and "Together Again" was '96, so this was definitely the basis for it. And I know Janet Jackson, I believe she was touring a lot in Europe around that time. And if you play the European version of this on PAL, it runs noticeably slower. So the gameplay and the music are both a lot slower when playing this on a PAL region console and television. And the tempo of this track, as it would have been played on Master System, and with this game being more prevalent on Master System in Europe, the tempo of this track when played on the PAL version is much similar. It's much closer to the arrangement in "Together Again." Oh no, than this version, than the Game Gear version. So it seems that very specifically, either Janet or whoever was working on a production team and developing the melody for "Together Again" was familiar with the PAL version of this game. I'm not going to pull it up now, especially, I don't want to, even though it would be the absolute epitome of fair use to just use a few seconds of this track of "Together Again," I don't want to have to go through the trouble of making that case, that, you know, and risking having copyright problems. So, but you can look it up, you know, you can look at the official YouTube posting of the music video for Janet Jackson "Together Again," and you can see how it was very clearly taken. The melody was structured very specifically taken from this track in Sonic the Hedgehog. So here we have the infamous Bridge Zone auto-scroller. Yeah, yeah, people who aren't familiar with the 8-bit Sonic games. Oh yeah, and one thing I never really noticed until I started streaming. In the Game Gear version of this game, Sonic's sprite does not have a nose. But in the Game Gear version, yeah, in the Game Gear version he doesn't have a nose. Here he does. I guess I thought the nose would stick out too much, and it's something I never noticed until I was playing the Master System version of the game alongside the Game Gear version. And even then, I really never noticed it until like a few streams in when I was playing them both sort of side by side. I was like, wait, Sonic doesn't have a nose. Now it's one of those things, as they say, you can't unsee it. It's like I'm constantly aware of it. I'm not bothered by it as much as when I first noticed it. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna be annoyed by it all the time. I really wasn't. By the way, that was a very clumsy loss of my coins there. Like, later 8-bit Sonic games did allow Sonic to recollect the coins, rather the rings, that were dropped when in touching an enemy. And this, I guess for this one, they didn't really feel confident in doing the animations for the rings bouncing out of Sonic. So they just had it so if you take a hit, you just instantly lose all your rings, and you can't recollect any of them. I believe Sonic, either Sonic 2 on 8-bit, if it's not Sonic 2, then definitely Sonic Chaos. They enabled the ability to collect rings, and then by the time, and they also in Sonic 2, either Sonic 2 or definitely by Sonic Chaos, they felt confident enough in the hardware to do have the rings, rather the loop-de-loops that Sonic goes through. Those are replaced by ramps in this version, and between the speed shoes icon, which is only found in the first stage of the game, between the speed shoes and the momentum ramps, they use those to give Sonic a sense of speed without using the loop-loops, which I guess they didn't feel they could confidently pull off with the 8-bit hardware. So in general, you just have this game that really plays the strengths of what the Master System could do. And we are going for a max special bonus, which means collecting all of the Chaos Emeralds. Alright. So we have another chance to do this special stage. Yeah, it's been... Yeah, I love playing this game, and I love coming back to it from time to time. But I am concerned. I thought of speedrunning this game, running the speedrun for it, but now I need to use the purple. The purple... Okay. Yeah, the purple springs are my, I don't think... Okay. And I beat the stage with 1 second left on the clock. I wanted to get a few more rings so I can get the 1-up, but frankly, I'm already swimming in more lives. Like, when I first started streaming this, I might have actually needed all these lives, but it only shows up to 9 lives on screen at a time during gameplay. But you can see during the stage scoreboards that you can you can have up to at least probably up to 99 lives. I don't even know if it's possible to get that many if you can play perfectly. Lemon just delivered a Masters of the Universe action figure. You've been slowly rebuilding the retro line, which faithfully reproduces the 80s toys with enhancements. That's awesome. You were saying you even went to Mattel headquarters to get because they have you get easier access to some of the more harder to collect. Oh my gosh! I forgot how this boss worked. That was just me forgetting how this boss worked. I was playing this like I was playing the Game Gear game. As you saw, if you were here for the Game Gear part of the stream, the rules for this boss fight... Yeah, that's the safe spot, is to stand in the center. Yeah, that was just me forgetting what, So you're also ordering some online. Now, so are you just trying to go for your favorite Masters of the Universe characters? Or are... Oh my gosh! Yeah, are you... That was the first death I could say was probably more due to, you know, using this new type of D-pad. Which, if you're not familiar, I'm using the Master System controller, and you have this square D-pad, which looks better than I thought it would. Because they didn't want to have trademark problems with Nintendo for, because they had a patent for the switch mechanism for the D-pad. So until fairly recently, and even still to this day, a lot of systems, their D-pad will be like a different shape than the actual just straight up plus shape. You call them every week, you never get anything, so you've been using at Amazon. Oh my gosh, that was close. Yeah, so you're collecting as many as you can get. So you're going for the whole set. Because when you come to things like that, there are all different ways you can collect. You can try to just get the rarest ones, or you can get your favorite characters from the show, or you can try to have a 100% collection. Yeah, it was really during this fight that I really feel like I'm trying to relearn how to move with the D-pad here. I know with Thomas the Tank Engine, there were a few characters like Wilbert and 16, where I know He-Man was one of those infamous franchises for this, where they would have a recolored version of a character, and sometimes it wasn't even a character that appeared in the show, they just made it up to sell more toys. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I believe, did that a lot too, though I didn't collect for either of those series when I was a kid. So this is the first time hearing the this version of Bridgestone. But with Thomas the Tank Engine, at least in terms of the lore, they could get away with that a bit more, because there were some characters like 16. Well, one of the really characters where it was legitimately a case of it. There's a tank engine that only appeared in the Railway Series books called 16. And, well, this character was called Wilbert. And there was another character called 16, and they were both the same type. They were both the same make and model of tank engine. They were both Hunslet Austerity class tanks. 060s. Oh my goodness. That was a combination of not having the feel for this console version, and, oh my gosh. Yeah, these deaths I'm taking are due to the using this new D-pad, frankly. It's a lot easier, it's a lot trickier to roll. The updated figures have more articulation than the old ones. Yeah, because they can probably mold a more articulated figure for a lot cheaper than they could back in the 80s and early 90s. But yeah, there were two engines, like Wilbert and 16, and they were the same make and model of engine, so the toys were exactly the same, except with a different paint job and face on them. And this is something I noticed in the store even before I actually had access to the Railway Series books and understood that Wilbert and 16 were the same character. They also did this with Thomas. They used Thomas's mold in the 90s Ertl line. They used Thomas's model. They repainted Thomas green to represent the character, the real-life Bluebell Railway engine Bluebell. And originally, their prototype pictures out there, I guess they were sent to toy catalogs of Bluebell actually being, like, Bluebell is based on a Southeastern Chatham Railway P-class tank, whereas Thomas is a London Brighton South Coast Railway E2 tank. And they were going to actually make the model based on the SCER P-class, but instead they decided to be a little cheap with it and repaint Thomas's model and represent it as Bluebell. I always prefer the He-Man toys. They're a lot more substantial in your hands. G.I. Joe and Star Wars, you always felt were too small. Yeah, like the original era G.I. Joes, when it was actually like the same. The original G.I. Joes, I believe, were to the same scale as Barbie. So, oh my gosh, that right there, that was just not having to adjust from the difference in the stage layout compared to the Game Gear version. And it's a problem I've never had. I think it's having just played the Game Gear version, because usually traditionally I played the Game Gear version first. No, I play the Master System version first and then play the Game Gear version second when I do these Sonic Exhibition streams. But this time I wanted to play Game Gear 1 first and then play the Master System version so I could show off first the version with the actual original soundtrack. Because Game Gear and Master System do have the exact same soundtrack for this game. But this version, I wanted to play the original sound version first and then show off the FM sound mod here. So I wanted to play the modified version. Oh! Okay, the jump to get over there is a lot trickier. Wow, we have fewer than 9 lives. That's not it's the... Yeah, combination of learning this new controller, because I usually use the Genesis 3-button controller. And also, I do want to mention I cannot pause this. I have to find a safe spot and stand there if I need to stop playing for a moment. Because the Master System controllers did not have... Oh my gosh. The Master System controllers did not have a pause button on it, whereas the Genesis 3-button controller actually has the, that little, like, mini crouch you saw there, that was 100%. Oh yeah, it is much trickier. It's much trickier to get onto that platform than it is in the Game Gear version. You practically... Yeah, in the Game Gear version, you practically just jump off and it's pretty effortless. Here, it's a little trickier. Now, Sonic snaps up onto that. You know what? I have to wait till both wallets come down. There's a Black and Asian Master of the Universe figure. They're coming out too. Oh, that's... did these exist back in the 80s? Or you see I leaned into that jump a bit. Did those exist back in the 80s, or is this a new edition? Oh my... I keep forgetting I'm not playing the Game Gear version. I have to be more conservative with those jumps right there. Yeah, either way, that's pretty cool. It would be especially interesting if those did exist as part of the original line. Oh, they did? Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know that. Because I only knew of, like, the traditional, you know, sort of Caucasian take on the character. That was sort of the main version. Because I know, like, Barbie, there are, like, different race versions of Barbie as well as different characters. Yeah, I think those both exist with Barbie, like, different, like, alternative versions of Barbie herself, and then, in addition to that, different characters of various, you know, skin tones and racial backgrounds. The Asian one is Ninjor. Yeah, you could, you know, I guess raise an eyebrow at that, but the fact that they, you know, just tried to... I mean, heck, there's a character in Power Rangers called Ninjor, and that was... I don't know if he was called that in Japan, but the character existed in Japan as well. Oh my gosh. I do not remember if those spikes existed. Yeah, you could bat an... I'm not offended by it, but you can bat an eyebrow at it. You know, if you wanted to, you know, dig into it a bit. But, you know, they clearly did not mean any harm by it, so... Alright. Now, I need to jump... There's the platform. Yeah, these jumps here are definitely different from the Game Gear version. Ooh, this jump looks so scary. This jump does look scary. There we go. Got enough momentum to get over there. Yeah, the stages seem a little tougher, because I definitely lost coins. Hey, we got a 1-up to make up for one of the, You got a 1-up to make up for some of the lives we lost there. Yeah, if I ever go for a single credit run of this, where I restart if I get even a single death... Now look, here we go, we got the ratchet scrolling already active, where once that, like that platform of grass there, once that leaves the screen, if I were to jump down there, I'd die. That platform no longer exists as part of Sonic's world anymore. And so that, getting that ring box there is quite a bit more of a risk. So I have to jump carefully, because if I jump in a way that advances the screen and land there, that will be, I will lose a life there. Alright, Okay, there we go. I just knew that this is... I really do think that this level would be balanced fairly. The ratchet scrolling is just not necessary. Now, it's interesting, he's kind of is, or spawn point is not... Yeah, it just occurred to me, they're kind of jumping out of the waterfall, which is interesting conceptually. Yeah, fortunately, this does not suffer the problem that Doki Doki Panic had, where the strobe effect on the waterfall was a hazard for epileptic and photosensitive people, and then in addition to that, even for even if you didn't suffer from epilepsy, the strobing effect on the waterfall was just so horrendous to look at. It strains your eyes. It gives some people headaches. But I think we've nearly reached... No, we haven't. Okay, so I remember this point in the Game Gear level. For a second, I thought that we had reached the end of the stage. But now I think we're coming up close to the end. Oh my gosh. Now we've reached the end of... No more hazards. We are now safe. We can just clear the stage now. Yeah, 10 rings shy of accessing the special stage. We have plenty of lives. We have at least one continue. Scrap Brain, I basically don't lose lives in Scrap Brain. I can't think of the last time I've ever actually lost a credit in Scrap Brain. Skybase is really, Labyrinth and Skybase, Labyrinth, boss Labyrinth. Labyrinth Act 3. So Labyrinth Act 3 and Skybase. Skybase 3? No, Skybase 2, but especially Skybase 1 and 2 and the final boss are really the only parts of the game where I feel likely to lose a life generally. I mean, I've lost more lives than normal just because of, this actually, playing this without a pause button is not as bad as I thought. Now, I may actually, from now on, play this version of the game using the Master System. Oh no, that was just me being greedy and trying to get an extra hit in. That was just me being greedy. I did not have to lose that credit there. Yeah, that was just me getting a little overly ambitious. But as long as I'm above 9... Oh my gosh. As long as I'm above... as long as I have 9 or more lives left, I feel like this run's going well. Whoa, I feel like I feel like I kind of got cheated by the hitbox detection there. I don't feel like either Robotnik or the bomb really hit me in a fatal way, but I must have clipped the very edge of its box to trigger the death. And what makes it tricky is when one cannonball is exploding, that proof of that cloud, as it leaves the screen, as the cannonball leaves the screen, it can still damage Sonic. And to make up for the fact that the boss stages in this aren't full, like in the original Sonic the Hedgehog, you did play a full-fledged platforming stage before you reached the boss. Oh my gosh, that was tricky. That was close. Now, if I had touched the poofing cloud as the cannonball explode, I would have actually lost a credit. So, it was a little tricky. Lost a few credits. That was entirely because of this D-pad here. That was entirely because of this new D-pad. So, Yeah, it is a bit of an art to use this D-pad effectively. Yeah, I lost. We beat Robotnik and still lost the jump at the end as we tried to jump onto the platform to clear the stage. And you know, I was saying, oh, everything's going well. We have at least 9 lives left, and now we lost our 9th life. Alright, you gotta be extra careful this time. There we go. Yeah, the first time, that was entirely because of using this funny D-pad. It's much easier to go, it's because of the arrow keys being here. Like, the arrow, like, this is an 8-way controller, like the D-pad, but because it's all attached, it's a lot easier to go into a roll when I just intended to crouch, or to go into a roll when I'm intending to just jump at an angle. But this pad, honestly, even just the few moments I played around with this pad, I really felt that. So this is a nice. I already like the 8-bit version of the Labyrinth Zone theme a lot more than the Genesis one. I mean, the Genesis one, it's like a famous theme, you know, it's like iconic with this, you know, iconic association with that game. But I do feel like the Master System version of this track, the 8-bit version of this track, of the Labyrinth Zone theme, because it's really a completely different track. I really do feel like this is I like this track a lot more. I mean, it's what I grew up with, it's what I always associate with Labyrinth Zone, and it's much more energetic, a little more menacing than the Master System, than the Genesis equivalent of this track. You know, dun 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 dun, like than the, you know, that theme. So it's a little more menacing, a little more energetic. I remember asking my mom, what does Labyrinth mean? The first time I saw my brother get this far. And it's like, oh wow, because yeah, I lost the manual long ago, so I didn't remember what the other stages were. I remember the last stage was called Scrap Brain, and I had never seen it before at that point, but just remembering, I just asking my mom, like, what is a labyrinth? I remember being in the backseat of the car. We just went to some store, we were coming home, it was me and my brother in the back seat. He got this far, and you know, I just asked, what is a labyrinth? And my mom had to explain, and my brother's like, oh, there's a movie called Labyrinth. You know, the David Bowie, Jim Henson movie. The Jim Henson movie with David Bowie in it. And because of that, I was just interested in the idea of labyrinths. So oh my gosh, I lost my... I did not realize... No, the bubble despawned. Come on, if I lose a credit here... Okay, if I lost a credit there, in my opinion, it basically wouldn't have counted. Yeah, there is not an Orbonaut there in the, but it retains the memory that the Orbonaut launched the balls, so he's defenseless now. Before I figure that strategy to get him to trigger him to launch the projectiles, and then go up and just roll into him, because he'll be invincible at that point. Alright. And here's a spot where... Okay, in that little tunnel there, in the... Is this... Oh, what's over here to the left? Is this... This better not be something that isn't worthwhile. Oh no! You know what? I'm gonna be conservative now. I had enough. Darn it! I should have watched the end of the stage be right here, because I have a very good feel for the games, but I don't have these memorized, and I really don't remember if this is just the end of the stage right here. Yeah, it looks like this was. Yeah, I shouldn't have even. But at least we can get our one up here. Which is actually the main reason I was... Okay, 9 lives, 9 or more lives. I feel like we're doing real good. Yeah, and of course, this theme sounds great with the FM sound added to it. Yeah, I know, like, lots of games like Phantasy Star also was enhanced for FM sound, but the FM sound unit never came out in North America. So on Master System here, like, we never actually got to, or in Europe, we never actually got to enjoy the game with the option of FM sound. Whereas this game never had FM sound, it was added in later. There's a shield up there, and I want it. You know, I could have just went for the shield and then went back and got the rings. But I guess I just wanted them all then. Now, it's funny, if you don't navigate safely through here, oh my gosh. Speak of the doggone devil. So, at least we got the rings, right? I was gonna say, like, yeah, it's risky going through there, but if you could at least get to the other end, and collect the box, even if you take a hit on the way back, at least you got the rings, and Sonic isn't in any danger. Hey, Jack Attack DX. I don't think I've seen you around before. I don't know if you got to see the Game Gear portion of the screen. You love this version of Sonic? So you're familiar with the, the FM sound mod, for this? Normally when I stream this, I normally play it with the original cartridge, but, with my Mega SG. And you're bad? What? You're bad? I don't mind if you... Oh, excuse me. I don't know why I read it that way. I followed it as... I read that as... I followed a long time AGO, and I'm trying to think, what's AGO? Is that, like, some forum I used to be on? Like, what is AGO? Oh, a long time ago. Yes, obviously. Okay, and, you know, you can come in for the streams that you're interested in. If you're only interested in when I'm playing 8-Bit Sonic, you can come in just for that, and it's fine. I don't take it personally or anything. Oh, come on, give me... Yeah! Possibly frames to go. Yeah, so for the... Normally I play this off the original cartridge, using the Mega SG. This time I installed the Smoke Monster firmware, so that I could load in ROMs with the SD card. So we're playing on FPGA, but we're playing it off the SD card instead of the actual cartridge. When I played the Game Gear version earlier, in the stream, I did play off my original childhood Sonic the Hedgehog Game Gear cartridge. Come on. Okay, I knew I was cutting it close with that angle of attack going into that jump there. Yeah, every maybe 2 or 3 months I like to do a stream. I mean, honestly, this particular game, like this game, well, not the Master System version, but the Game Gear version, I wanted to showcase it. I want to showcase this game on Twitch from the standpoint of someone who actually grew up with the games. Because a lot of people I see who grew up with the Genesis version, and then they play the Game Gear version later on, they just think of it as a watered-down sort of, you know, game. And I wanted to, like, you know, like, I wanted to advocate for it and say, like, hey, I learned to love Sonic based on these 8-bit games. Now... Now, I didn't grow up with a Master System version. I didn't play a Master System version until the Wii Virtual Console, because the American version of Sonic the Hedgehog, okay, is a very limited release in North America. Now, we got just now one of the coolest problem-solving things in this entire game. I grabbed the invincibility block. I have to hustle over to here for the Chaos Emerald. I grabbed it very quickly, but it was in those hidden... Oh my gosh. And it was hidden in those spikes. And this is the first time that I'm using the Master System controller, which is a little tricky only because, well, you can't pause. Well, not only can you not pause, but I've come to find that it's very easy, it's much easier to go into a roll than I'm used to. In general, it's much easier to use this controller than I would have expected. Yeah, they really played to the strengths of the 8-bit hardware. They didn't feel like confident doing the loop-to-loop, so they put in ramps to give a sense of speed. The only Super Shoes icon in this game is in that first level, which is probably the longest horizontal level in the game. So so we made it up to Labyrinth boss. There's no time limit for the Sonic's breath in this game, so you don't have to worry about that. This is a little more challenging than the Game Gear version because of the expanded arena for the Robotnik fight. What I like to do... Okay, there we go. You can manipulate by... If you're more than 50% to the right or left of the Robotnik's submarine, you can influence the way the torpedo will shoot. So you just have them shoot that way and then just stand over here so that you always learn something new from you. You never knew about these other versions growing up. I was only familiar with the Genesis version. Yeah, a lot of American... and that's another thing, interesting thing, is in Europe. Oh, very narrow window I had to dodge there. That was a little risky. A little hazardous. Most American games are only familiar with this through the Game Gear version, whereas in Europe and in Central and South America, this version is much better known. Okay, that's more of the type of window I like to see. This version's much better known because in Europe, the Master System was much more popular in South America and in Europe, where Nintendo, the NES didn't really have the stranglehold that, the NES didn't have the stranglehold that it had in Europe and in South America. And in Europe and South America, as you get into the 90s, now we have to survive this jump right here. Very, very scary. You don't want to die again after beating the boss. But in Europe and in South America, into the early and mid-90s, and in South America even into the late 90s and 2000s, Master System was very popular as a budget option. And in Europe, Master System was a budget option for people who, their parents didn't want to get the more expensive Genesis. So having an 8-bit version of Sonic for the home console is very important in those markets. Whereas this cartridge had a very limited release. Oh wow! This is the first time I'm hearing the FM sound version of the Scrap Brain Zone theme. And Scrap Brain Zone for me, I basically never take deaths here. This first stage is probably the most forgiving out of all of them. I feel like this first stage is really just kind of a very low pressure way to introduce some of the traps and hazards and enemies that you'll be encountering the rest of Scrap Brain. Now, I feel like the melody in Yuzo Koshiro's remix of Scrap Brain Zone here has a much better developed melody. And I do like, in both versions, I like the skyline, the red, dusky, smoggy sky, the flashing lights and all the skyscrapers, the scaffolding and smokestacks in the background. And from this stage forward, the second act of Labyrinth Zone is the last opportunity you have to access the special stage. See, like here we have our first... there's a switch in Labyrinth that lets you turn a ring box into a extra Sonic. But this is the first, hitting a switch to open a door. They are more... and it seems like there are more enemies in the Game Gear version. And the Scream Crunch makes it a lot more likely that you're going to run into those flame jets. Yeah, so I never played this version until the Wii Virtual Console. But actually, I just realized this is the first time, because normally I'm using a heated backrest with a massaging, it's a massaging backrest with a heated element to it, so that it can massage my back and apply heat, so that lets me stream a lot longer. This is the same setup. If you're, I'll show off my setup really quick. My overview. So this here is my streaming setup. This is also my home office. So I'm playing on the monitor in front of me. On the left is my streaming PC. And the console is on the little black table to the left of me, just like you see here. But I use this setup, when I use it for doing work and other stuff, I'm fine. But when it comes time to stream, just staying in this exact spot to stay on camera for so long, it caused me to have symptoms where I need like the massaging back rest. Oh my. That was that jump where I almost like, I gasped a bit, I sort of gulped a bit. That was one of those jumps that didn't go the way I intended due to using the Master System Gamepad for the first time. And next week, my streams, last few weeks I've been able to stream Wednesday at noon. We'll see if we can keep that being relatively standard. Depends on what appointments and obligations I have going on, in my professional life. But I would like to stream, try to keep it a Wednesday thing. I have the time to eke out 2 streams a week or more, but doing 1 stream a week, it really makes me feel like I'm looking forward to the stream all week. And also when I choose what I want to do, I have to think, what do I, in a week from now, when I next stream, what do I want to do more than anything else that I could be broadcasting? And so it makes each stream feel more important. Like, I have to choose, I have to select, what do I want to do more than anything else next week's stream? Now we have our first branching path here. The second and third stages of Scrap Brain are basically puzzle stages, or rather mazes. This stage lets you jump around, and take as much time as you need. Well, actually, no, excuse me, that's the next stage. This stage has a limited time. You have up to 10 minutes to complete the stage. In the Game Gear version, there's an extra little pig enemy right there. And it's funny, because both of these enemies are kind of like little pigs that I think are jump on springs. I wonder if there's some kind of Japanese folklore trope about, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to do that whole thing over because I didn't nail that last jump. So we're going to have to try that again, which is unfortunate. Game Gear, we nailed it the first time, but this time, you're going to have to... Yeah, you can't just walk and jump over that little crevasse. You have to roll and jump over there. So you have to know it's coming. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna roll down and jump. And it's the first time I tried it. You need the slightest bit of forward momentum, and that's a lot hard to do. Maybe just try to jump in a more typical manner. But a couple of weeks ago, I planned for there to be... Now, if I went that other path, if I went the upward path of the first branching path, I would have came up here, and I can hit that switch, and watch what happens. Those 2 doors switch, I hit it again, they go back, so I need to jump down from here, so I can hit the switch. And then approach again from above, and that's the solution to this stage. Now, the Chaos Emerald for Scrap Brain is hidden in this first spot here, which logically, the general vocabulary of the game would lead you to believe. And I love all these flashing buttons and panels, and it's really very cool. Would have you believe that you would be, there's the Chaos Emerald. Because of the way my capture card works, it only wants to, a lot of flickering and transparency effects don't quite work. Where on my monitor that I'm viewing directly ahead of me, I can see that the Chaos Emerald with a shimmering effect on my capture, and what you're seeing on stream, it either wants to show the emerald on or off. I've tried several solutions in changing my frame rate. It just seems to be, a consequence of, capturing the way I am. So, considering everything else is like pixel perfect, and it's not a problem with the console, it's a problem with my capture setup. But everything else works fine, so the transparency effect I'll put up with it being not properly displayed. It's not so bad. You get the idea of what's going on. It's not a constant. Yeah, I'm glad I could, Clackaboy going for your I'm glad I could teach people about these games, and plus, these games aren't, especially the Game Gear version, isn't streamed that often. And when the 8-bit version of Sonic is being streamed, it tends to be streamed by players from either mostly Europe and the UK, and if not from that, it's usually, if it's not a European or UK gamer, it's usually someone from South America or for Central America. So I really wanted to give an American perspective on these games. And this game, the cartridge for this game is it had a very limited release in North America, where it was the last Master System game to be released. And they just took European copies of the game and put a different... Doggone, I have to redo that now. Like, getting that duck and jump down is really tricky. But, yeah, this game, this is the exact... I imported this copy from England. This is the exact same cartridge that was from the North American release. And from every other release of the game, frankly, but... yeah, there's no region lockout, and you don't have problems with, like, the PAL version. You just pop it in the system, and it just plays based on how the system itself is attuned. So if I was playing this on a PAL Master System, it would play with the PAL. Doggone! Something about this shield, like, well, I call it the 3-button Genesis controller shield D-pad. It's even more. It's like a square D-pad. In fact, in a lot of the Master System manuals, refer to it as the D-button. And this is the most time I've taken in a long time to clear the stage. And it's, okay, so third time's a charm, right? Okay, we had I didn't think I was going to make it for a few milliseconds. Had just enough momentum to get over that gap. Yeah, so, that's what I was getting at. So I announced, I even made the cards for it and everything. I announced that we'd be going back to, I've been doing a run of Paper Mario, where I would spin a wheel to randomize which of Mario's stats would be leveled up each time he gains a level. I got exactly halfway through the game and then stopped to do some other things. First I was doing Mario 3D World, plus Bowser's Fury for a while, then I beat that, and then we played, I did an airship lecture, an airship history lesson, which, if you type in with the command VODs in my chat, you can see the link to my YouTube channel, where I have, like, the vast majority of my streams archived on YouTube, mostly unlisted videos. So I did an airship history lesson, and then last week, what did I do last week? Oh yeah, then for a couple of weeks I was doing streams of, okay, this is the maze stage. Notice there's no time limit, we just have to carry through the stage. Well, since we're at a point with no time limit, why don't I just mention, well actually I could, yeah, so next week I'm doing a look-through of, I'm doing a retrospective on the 3DS, and part of that will include watching every 3DS related video I ever made. So we have to, generally, the correct path will be the one with rings along it, but you can't go up there. You have to go straight through there, and you go right, okay. There we go, okay. Straight right down, go up, left, notice the rings there, and then you go up, and then you go up again at the next branching path. Once you get up here, you just go to the left, and the stage is solved at this point. If you don't understand that sequence, this could take, I believe the first time I got through it, which was on stream, one of my first 2 or 3 streams, I did actually, my very first stream, I did get this far when I played it. Because I played Sonic, then I played Undertale for a while, then I went back to Sonic, and when I was playing Sonic, I did get through the stage. It took me, I think, about 40 minutes to get through this stage. It took me a while, because I know this game from when I was a kid, but as a kid, I never get this far. So you really got to see my first time getting through Scrap Brain. And now we're up to the last zone. Yeah, Scrap Brain is not the end of the game, like in, you have an additional like themed stage in Skybase, and I like how you see Counter Robotnik, you see him jump on the elevator, and he jumped up to here. And if you've never seen this before, it has cool like continuity, and both Scrap Brain 3 and in this stage, and in these next few stages, you have cool continuity between the stages where it really feel like you're traveling. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I was 100% depending on being able to abuse. Now, it's funny, now that we can access the special stage, it really doesn't matter in terms of how many rings I grab. In fact, it's a better strategy if you already have a ring not to collect more rings, because if you take a hit and you don't have a shield, then you can still... if you don't collect the rings immediately, then you have a fairer chance of being able to grab a ring nearby so that you're protected if you take another hit. Oh my gosh, that was just clumsy. That was just me being impatient. I want you to, come on, launch. This guy's a little pain in the butt. Launch projectiles. Yeah, the placement of this guy here is much less forgiving than the, just need to drag him far enough over here so I feel confident making the jump. Because once I reach the halfway, he will always face Sonic directly. So I need to just lure him over far enough that I have space to make the jump safely. Now these platforms look scary because when I first encountered them, I assumed that once I jumped on them, they wouldn't stop, and then if they hit a wall, the platform would just fall a few moments later. Here, the platform only moves as when Sonic is standing on it, and if it reaches the wall. Does reach the wall, it just stays there. So, like, imagine me trying to do this thinking that the platform wouldn't stop moving once I jumped on it. That would make this hazard here absolutely diabolical. And I probably would have taken a lot longer to get good enough to get to the end of the stage. So, like, the last stage we had the elevator, and we saw Sonic follow Robotnik up the elevator. Here, to here, and here we're boarding this platform of something that looks a little like some kind of dirigible. And so we're seeing that the sky base is the launch pad for Robotnik's airship, which is cool. And actually, the Sonic First here, sky base here, this is actually the first depiction of Robotnik having a flying machine or ship as his headquarters. Nice combination. First time hearing this track. Now, if I were to go up, I'd have to go through a very difficult gauntlet of those propeller blades. You have the spinning gun turrets, cannons, saw blades. But if you, in this version, oh no, I jumped too far. The spacing of that jump is different between the Game Gear version, which I just played. In Master System, it's actually much fairer. And that's just, they just put it right there. In Game Gear, you do have to make a bit of a leap of faith. Now, this bypasses most of the more treacherous hazards. It's tricky in its own right. I have taken a number of deaths here. Not nearly as many as completing the stage the traditional manner. But this is the only way to access the final Chaos Emerald. And for the sake of controls, I don't have pause on the controller. Pause would have been on the console on Master System. But I have, instead of A and B, I have 1 and 2. 1 is also Merc Start, so for many buttons you do press 1. The 1 button being on the left, so it doesn't use A, B, and C like the Genesis pad. It uses 1 and 2. It also uses, I believe 1 and 2 is also used on the Game Gear, if I remember correctly. Yeah, this is tricky in its own way. Sometimes, especially more on the Game Gear than on Master System. Going through this the first time and not knowing where to jump. So there you have the final Chaos Emerald, which we collected. Now, the tricky thing about this section is that the ship is bobbing up and down to recreate the sense of movement of the ship flying in turbulence. But when a bullet fires from the cannon blast, from the cannons, once again, check. I love all these panels, all these panels and doodads, the flashing buttons, very atmospheric. But in the Master System, you basically, well, in the Game Gear, well, basically, the point is that once the bullet leaves the cannons, they don't move with the bobbing of the ship, so it's very easy to be in a safe place when it shoots. So here we have the final boss. If you saw the final boss before, there were 3 flame jets there were 3 flame jets. There were 3 flame jets, and there were flamethrowers at the bottom of the screen, and a lightning launcher. Here, the Thunderball, which I'll call it, I guess we'll call it a Thunderball, in homage to the 007 movie, right? Ooh. So for the first phase of this fight, this electric wall, this force field, is going to scroll back and forth in a consistent pattern. But about halfway through, I guess the nodes for the force field wall thing, they're going to actually track Sonic's movement. And this is also true in the Game Gear version, as long as I'm standing on the far left of the map. Oh my gosh! I was fooling around jumping when I shouldn't have been, and as long as I was standing on the left, the Thunderball should not have hit me. Yeah, that was just clumsy. Being a little greedy there. As long as I stay in this spot. Now watch, the Thunderball's coming. As long as I stay in this spot, the Thunderball should never actually strike Sonic. That was slow. I was frames away from getting toasted by the electric wall there. And when I was rolling there, that was really more due to the D-pad, the square. Okay, that was one where I was prepared for Sonic to take the death there. I feel like I'm just barely... Okay, now we got halfway through. Now let's... Okay, so here, when I'm gonna reactivate the force field, and it's gonna go on, off, on, off. On, off. So I have to keep that in mind. On, off. On, off. On, off. On, off. And so forth. Okay. Okay, that was close. That was close. I don't know if I actually got the 2 hits in. I was being a little greedy there. After the next Thunderball leaves the screen, then I'm going to go for it. Yeah, we got it. Now let's hear the ending in glorious FM sound quality. Now, because I do stand by this, the ending of this 8-bit version of Sonic is vastly superior to the Genesis version. In the Genesis version, when Sonic collects all the Chaos Emeralds and beats the game, if you don't, he's just like Sonic, Robotnik juggling the Chaos Emeralds and laughing, oh, try again. And this version, if you collect all the Chaos Emeralds, well, in Genesis, if you collect all the Chaos Emeralds, Sonic jumps in close to the screen, with a big giant sprite and gives a thumbs up, I think. In this version, which I think is better for like the industrialists, like the forest versus factories, robots versus animals, industrialism versus conservationism theme, Sonic uses the power of the Chaos Emeralds to cleanse the island of Robotnik's pollution, which I think is a much better ending, much stronger ending, and fits better with the themes of the game itself. So for the first time ever, I've completed, thanks to the request of Serial Wars, who was here earlier on the stream and chat. He requested that I beat it with the D-pad. I mean, with the Master System controller, and so I did. And really, not being able to pause. Now I'm realizing for the first time there are a lot of safe spots to stand at in this game, where you don't have to worry about anything like a hazard or enemy or obstacle coming to get you. And yes, for each Chaos Emerald, let's hear. Let's hear the ending in glorious FM sound quality. Now, because, for each Chaos Emerald, let's hear. Oh, wow, okay. So instead of... Normally there's a unique theme in this version. Now I wonder... I'm switching to the Genesis controller. I want to press start to see if it'll bring up the 8-bit version. Because they programmed... Yuzo Koshiro arranged an 8-bit version. Yeah, he arranged an 8-bit version of the Marble Zone theme, but they never made Marble Zone in the game. Because I guess they figured it wasn't a good fit for what the hardware's capable of pulling off confidently. So for the FM sound version, I guess they wanted to include the Marble Zone theme in here somehow, so they put it in during the ending. I wonder if there is a proper ending. Now, I wonder if you only get this version of the ending if you get max special bonus and get all the Chaos Emeralds, or if I complete the game normally, will I just hear an FM version of the ending theme? Because it would be kind of a shame to do all this and not have an FM version of the original theme. So actually, next time we beat this, I'm going to deliberately, which will be like in a couple of months, every couple of months I do a Sonic stream, you know, where I, showcase and demonstrate the 8-bit version of Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, next time I do this, I'm going to not get all the Chaos Emeralds and see if I don't get mass special bonus. Like to see if having the Marble Zone theme is like a special version, a special Easter egg for completing, getting with 100% Chaos Emeralds. Alright. So, does it just sit there at end, or does... I forgot. Oh, the Olive Garden thing, that's just a joke. It's a reference to the Sonic movie where if you beat the game, you get to, if you... when they beat Robotnik and the army guy gives him a gift card for Olive Garden. So, that's going to be the end of today's stream. I'll be back next Wednesday. And next Wednesday, what's going to be going on is that I'm going to be... if you're not familiar, I had a long-running career on YouTube. I did YouTube videos before, mostly about Zelda Timeline stuff. But really, the beginning of my YouTube career, and I was never a professional YouTuber, but I got 2,000 subs back in like 2010-11, and in 2010 or 11, 2,000 subs was the beginning of being notable on YouTube. So I was a pretty big, relatively speaking, Nintendo YouTuber, and when they announced the Nintendo 3DS via press release, I made a video within like 10 minutes, and I got it posted onto YouTube within like a half hour of the announcement. And back then, being 30 minutes late to something, only making a video of breaking news 30 minutes in was like, I was basically one of the, for about a month or two, if you typed in, because of like the algorithm being on my side, if you typed in Nintendo 3DS into YouTube, my video was the first video, or one of the top 10 videos that people got. So a lot of people were finding me through that, so I kind of became a 3DS YouTube channel, which is... And so I did about 6 hours worth of videos. I'll have videos of me going to taking a train to the Nintendo store with a few other gaming YouTubers, some of whom you may recognize from Twitch nowadays in the retro scene. My live reactions, our live reactions in the store, because we attended a public viewing of the Nintendo E3 presentation for 2010 and in 2011, so you see us reacting to the reveal of 3DS, the reveal of Kid Icarus Uprising, and then later the reveal of Nintendo 3DS. I cover the official North American launch event at Union Square Best Buy, and different vlogs. It's really more of a vlog. I don't make gameplay videos, especially back then. It really wasn't possible to make gameplay videos. So it's really more vlogs about 3DS news and my opinion on certain news things. I get into a bit of the console war stuff with 3DS versus Vita, and I'm a supporter of handhelds and portables in general, so I was excited about Vita. The promise of having near console quality graphics on a home system was exciting to me, and I bought the PSP on launch day, so I wasn't like I was a hater, but I really wanted to stand up for the 3DS when people were saying, when there was initial codename was called NGP, people was like, oh, NGP, Nintendo got pwned. I decided that, I was like, that's not really, I might as well turn on this solo filming thing, so you can see my voice, because I am talking quite a bit. So I wanted to advocate for 3DS, that it deserved to exist, that it could stand a chance against the PS Vita, And PS Vita was also kind of the last system that I feel was launched with a real, like, vicious, cutthroat, you know, console wars mentality, for the manufacturer themselves were actually dissing the competing system and its games. So because of all that, I have a lot to cover, and I'll talk a bit about my history with the 3DS console, the 3DS systems that I have nowadays, and it's mostly going to be me commentating on, you know, some of my old videos from the 3DS era. I made a giant video that's like almost 6 hours of just all my 3DS coverage, so a single video where I'm going to be watching and commentating on, probably pausing a lot, giving context. It's going to be a little embarrassing, a little cringy just making the video. I never really rewatched any of these videos, but it's really the first time I've even taken a look at some of these videos since back then. So some things are a little embarrassing, a little cheesy, and plus it's a look at a simpler era of YouTube. And the reason I'm doing this is because 3DS turned 10 the day before yesterday. So it'll be a week from now. I'll go back to my end card here. So it'll be a week from now, April 7th. And it'll be, so it'll be like one of those marathon kind of streams. I usually don't stream more than 4 hours tops, because today's stream was just streaming the 2 Sonic games. It'll take about an hour each to beat. It'll be a bit of a shorter stream. As you can see, I'm already clearly wrapping it up, but next stream will be one of those. I'm gonna try to. If I can't safely do it, I'll change my plans on the fly. But gonna be one of those longer streams, at least 5 hours, possibly more like 6 to 6.5 hours if all goes well. So I'm gonna end it there. I will see you next time. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for watching.